What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons, and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I've had a lot of stuff on my mind lately, but over the last year, it feels like every few months I'll sit down and watch a few No Country for Old Men clips. The book was really good. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I think it's relevant in terms of where this country is going, where we're going, where the world is going. But this time, two movie quotes stuck out to me. First is the title, "You Can't Stop What's Coming," and then the second was, "If the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule?" And that was a line I always dismissed as gloating, and it is gloating, but it's relevant too, because it lines up with another question we've been asking lately. And actually, this question gets asked in Fight Club. How's that going for you? Everybody has the answer to everything, but these answers must not be that great, because here we are. It must not be that great of a solution because nothing is solved. And everyone has always had all the answers to everything, but it feels like there is a rising desperation in it these days, precisely because they don't work, and because something is coming and we can't stop it. And this links back up with Anton's question. If the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule? The answer is little to nothing. We are still balls deep in modernism. And rightly so, because dummies frame modernism as this cancer, when in reality, it's more like Windex. This is what is, and it's not going to change until you can figure out a way to make it change. And despite the fact everyone has all the answers, nothing will change until people do something, and I don't think anyone will ever do anything. Because it's brilliant the way this is set up. I used to think people would never do anything as long as they had their creature comforts, and that is true to an extent, but not for the reasons I thought it was. It's not that people love their creature comforts that much, although we do. It's more we are afraid of confronting what we need to confront, doing what we need to do, and we will find any excuse we can not to do it. And our creature comforts are our excuse. And I think they are our ultimate excuse. And one, creature comforts can be upkept longer than most things can. And two, the worse the situation gets, the more willing we are, or the more we need, I should say, to cling to our creature comforts even as they aren't upkept. It's like a person living in a bunker with a phobia of going outside. You'll live on a higher standard of amenities for a long time, and you'll complain about the outside world, but then the luxury amenities will go away, and then you'll go to the lower amenities, and you'll curse the outside world, and you'll say someone really needs to go out and get more shit, but nobody's going to do it. And you'll complain, and you'll complain, and you'll complain, and then finally you will run out of amenities, and instead of going out into the world facing your phobia, you'll instead hunt rats and sustain yourself on rats. Because it was never about enjoying yourself. It was always about excusing yourself from a problem you don't want to deal with, probably because realistically you can't deal with it. And you'll fight only once you have no option, and that won't even be you doing it with your ideals or whatever. That'll be an animal, a starved, desperate animal. Nobody is protesting about digital ID. There was, and this is the slackiest slacktivism, there was some online complaining that went nowhere, even less than all of the other self-soothing online complaining, which is interesting because this is something that affects you more directly, but it's like Drive toward the end. It's done, it's over, there's no pain. They fucked part of your creature comforts, and that's not coming back. And then, with guns and all this, your Second Amendment has been infringed for coming up on 100 years now, probably even the more severe cases before that. So you'll cling to what you have, and you'll say shall not be infringed. But look at the way wars are fought now. I'm still of the belief the American people, if pushed, would be able to do something, but we're starting way on the back foot because really what you need are drones and explosives. And I feel like this hasn't entirely clicked yet, but we, with our guns, are like cavalry in World War One. We're fighting for our right to defend ourselves in a way that is already obsolete, painfully obsolete. And we don't change because we have enough excuses. We have answers, we have ideologies, we have these shit-tard movements that we can use to make ourselves believe there is a way out. They're abstractions, people protesting. If all you're doing is non-violently clogging up roads for a few days, you're doing no damage. And damage is the only way things will change. But to do damage, you need to take risks, you need to risk yourself, and I don't think that's going to happen. As long as you can play act activism, as long as you can play act change, you will be able to excuse yourself. And I'm not any better in this, but I don't think convincing yourself you like sucking your thumb makes any of this any better. Which leads us to the situation we are in at present. I don't believe in anything, because with belief, I think there's a functionality and an effortlessness. You believe in something because it's getting you results, it's giving you a direction to move in, and you can feel it. And at least for me, there is nothing like that. Because you ask yourself, with anything you say you think, anything you do, how is that going for you? Is any of it making any difference? The most intense thing I've felt in the last few years has been my contempt for India. But I'm realizing I don't even believe in that. Why? Because my contempt isn't doing anything. At least not in any way that'll get anything done about it on a larger scale. You can do what you can a little bit locally, which is fun and funny and makes you feel a little bit better. But in the bigger picture, it's not going so well. There are so many things you can believe in, so many things you can study, so many things you can come to believe based on what you have experienced personally. But getting yourself invested in these abstract solutions or reading up on the background, all that is an ineffectual reaction. Nothing is changing, and you know that because you're continuing to need to react to this thing. And of course, nothing will get done until you actually do something, at which point, once you've jumped, once you've taken that risk, maybe something actually to believe in will reveal itself to you. But that hasn't happened, and I don't think it will happen. So, in the meantime, all we're doing is floating in water that is becoming increasingly acidic. Remove everything you believe in from your life, or swap everything you believe in with something else to believe in, or at least tell yourself you believe in. Nothing changes. I think another reason we try to make ourselves believe in things, aside from the self-soothing, is humanity's need for narrative structure. But you go modernism mode. You remove the narrative structure, at least the way we think we're supposed to believe in it. What are you left with? We haven't been able to answer that for over 100 years now. If you are able to masturbate and suck your thumb and be satisfied, you're fortunate. But imagine the Matrix. You take the red pill, which I really wish that entire concept hadn't been as irradiated as it's been. But you take the red pill and you get kicked out of the Matrix, but then then there's no Zion. Then there's no Zion. There's no Morpheus, there is no Nebuchadnezzar. You are in the desert of the real, and that's all there is. You could be hunted down at any moment, and that is on your mind. That is a concern, but that's another thing, is survival alone becomes a belief only once you are directly confronted with it, which doesn't work in this Matrix example so well. It's more like you're still wirelessly plugged into the Matrix. You're allowed to wander around the desert of the real and look at all the machinery and despair, and you probably won't get killed because you are still plugged into the Matrix. So hard survival is not something you have to deal with or confront directly. Survival can become its own belief, but only once you're confronted with it that directly. And you aren't, we aren't. But you could be killed at any moment. But you probably won't be. Maybe you are almost suddenly killed at one point. Maybe you almost, well, you do technically become a statistic, but not a coffin nail statistic. But even though you're a breathing statistic, odds are good it probably won't happen again. So that fear, you're still not in the survival mode you would need to be in for your life to mean anything, based on survival alone. What I'm getting at is all we're doing is existing while our baseline gets worse and worse, but not so bad you would ever need to take serious action against it. In fact, the worse it gets, the more you cling to your excuses, the more you cling to your slacktivism or your ideologies or your abstractions, like what I've been doing. I think I'm patriotic somewhere deep down inside, but I'm not a patriot. Not really. Patriotism is a game I've been playing to distract myself. And in the back of your mind, you know that. But today, I was so tired and so angry, and I was listening to a lot of Confederate music, which I'm usually opposed to because normally I LARP as a Union person, as a United States as the greatest person. But after about an hour, I hated the Union, I hated the United States, I hated all this stuff, I hated the Great Republic. Because, and only because, the Confederates had music available to me that appealed more to my emotions at that time. And I'm sure once my mood improves as much as it can, I'll swing back for the LARP, for the fun. But I don't believe in anything. And I don't believe in anything because nothing does anything other than appeal to whatever it is you want to feel, or whatever person you want to feel like you are at one moment. But none of it is substantial. And even if you'd go the even if you go the making small scale, individual scale, material changes or developments route, and maybe you can improve your life a little bit, but I think you could make yourself as physically fit as you could get and as wealthy as you could get, and you'll still feel the way you do now because you have no power and you have no purpose. You're still jerking off and sucking your thumb and wearing costumes representing the things you actually want. And I don't know what to do about any of that. It feels like we are in a big enclosure on a crash course with the sun, and there's nothing we can do about it. But let's get hypothetical. Let's say you do decide finally you are willing to risk your life. You are willing to stop with the excuses and face mortal terror. It still wouldn't matter. That's the fucked up thing. Because you know nobody will stand up with you. And even if they did, even if a lot of people stood up with you, what for exactly? You think you understand purpose. You think you understand belief. But just like the Matrix, you think you understand having muscles that work the way they're supposed to. But the moment you get unplugged, none of it works because you have no real experience with it. Meaning, odds are good you will die still not feeling what you wanted to feel. I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit. The anesthetics don't work the way they're supposed to. You can't shut it off either. All you can do is sit and take it and hope it doesn't get worse and wait to die. That's what you need to accept. But I don't think it's possible to accept that. You say you won't live in the pods, but you're already in a pod. You're hardly alive. And nothing you do, including the shit people will tell you, they'll list off 100 things. These are the ways that these are the things that will make you feel alive. Those won't make you feel alive either. You are spiritually castrated. It's this grand lack of freedom, ironically. You're so disempowered where it counts, you don't know what power is. It's like a plant that is supposed to grow its roots in the soil, but you are growing in an aquaponics system. Or hydroponics, actually. I think aquaponics is the fish one. Plants combined with fish. You cannot assert yourself in any way, nor do you belong to anything. Or neither do you belong to anything. It's like you're driving down the road 200 miles per hour, and there is a concrete wall at the very end, and it's getting closer and getting closer. And all you can do is nothing. You can't even try to enjoy the ride. You can't make peace with what's about to happen to you. You can try, of course, and that's what everybody will say. That's the next thing people will try to sell you. Sell you the idea of enjoying this speeding to your doom, or selling you the idea that you can be okay with your doom, that they're okay with their doom, either to get you to buy something from them or to convince themselves, but that's not going to happen. That's an unfortunate truth of being human. All you can do is watch it happen and know whatever you think and whatever you do within the automobile you're stuck in, it doesn't change anything. And of course, you're born as a being that needs to feel like it can do something. Maybe this is a torture harvester planet. Maybe we are in the Matrix. A matrix of some description. But I think we'll need to cut it here. My chest is hurting. All I can do is cross my fingers and hope some distraction will strike me better, strike me truer than other distractions do. So I don't have to think about it or feel it. Because you can't do anything about it. And if you think you can, if you think something can, here's what you do. You do it for a few years. Maybe you write down or reflect on where you are right now when you started, and then at the end of this length of time, you've dedicated yourself to this. You ask yourself, how has it been working for you? Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.